How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today people are choosing between Littleton and Arvada, Colorado, two of Denver's most popular suburbs on the western side of town, mountains, trails, you name it. And we're going to discuss why they are choosing one over the other, starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. Listen, there are two things we do on this channel. One, we talk all things eating, living, breathing, experiencing Denver, Colorado, the metro area, the Colorado Front Range. And two, as a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of the state's most talented realtors, we're helping people like you move to this beautiful state of ours. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person, answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails there when and if you need me. Now that we got that fun-filled stuff out of the way, let's get to what we're here for, and that is people are choosing between Littleton and Arvada. Here's why. So having talked to dozens upon dozens of people who are moving or have moved at this point to the Denver metro area, Arvada and Littleton are two suburbs that are not just extremely popular, but they usually come up on people's radar as they begin to do their search of Denver suburbs that they would like to live in, and that's because they have a lot of key elements. They have quick proximity to getting into Denver, as we'll discuss. They've got great access to the mountains. They've got trails. They've got some similarities as far as these downtown areas. But at the same time, each, while they have those similarities, are also very unique. And an additional aspect of their uniqueness that we're going to dive into in this video is the fact that they have areas that, especially with Littleton, are incorporated or unincorporated areas of these towns. So just because a property has an address that says Littleton does not necessarily guarantee you certain things like certain school districts, certain police stations, even certain tax codes. So we're going to dive into all of these nuances so that you know what is alike about these communities, what's different, and what may make you choose one over the other. So first, obviously, is the where they are, the 10,000 foot view. So you have Arvada, Colorado, located northwest of Denver, roughly 20 to 25 minutes away from downtown, probably quicker if there's no traffic. You could probably, from certain areas of Denver, be to Arvada in 15 minutes with access from I-70. So one of the nice location benefits of Arvada is that proximity to I-70 that will lead you, if you're heading east, right into Denver, and then obviously you are right on the steps of the foothills. I-70 will take you right into the Rocky Mountains. And Arvada feels, as you'll see, like this massive historic suburb with this really cool Old Town Arvada downtown area. I will probably mention this 3 or 4 times during this video because I can't help myself, but there is a distinct difference between that downtown area of Arvada and then as you start to go further north and mainly further west into areas that we lovingly refer to Arvada as Farvada. Now, meanwhile, to the south and southwest of Denver, you have Littleton, and as you Google Littleton specifically, you're going to see initially a much smaller area. That being, again, incorporated Littleton, that is mainly around the downtown Littleton area. But Littleton, unincorporated, is massive. It stretches west out to areas like Columbine and Ken Carroll. It stretches south into communities like Sterling Ranch, which we're going to talk about. And so this is important because Littleton spreads into Jefferson County, Arapahoe County, and Douglas County. So this is going to impact what sheriff departments might take care of your community as far as safety and police enforcement. It's going to affect property and county taxes that you pay, or whether you pay city taxes on top of them. It's also going to affect your school systems that you might be in depending on the home or the area you choose to live in. So very important as we're talking about these areas that you understand that it's not just one address fits all. It's very unique depending on the location you end up choosing. And Littleton, much like Arvada, has an incredible downtown area that we're going to get into. Historic downtown Littleton and Main Street. It's a great geographic location where, again, using Santa Fe, you can get into Denver, again, in that 20 to 25 minute range, with areas, I should say, of both Littleton and Arvada as you get farther into the suburbs of both, where that drive to downtown can turn into 35, 40, even 45 minutes if you're on the extreme edge of these communities. But those are also the extreme edges, extreme's probably too harsh of a word, in which you are closer and quicker to get into the mountains. So a little benefit where you can have that quick access to town, or if you want to be farther away from the city, you're into the Rockies in a heartbeat. Now, the primary reason that Arvada and Littleton are so comparable, or the primary reason that a lot of people will look at these two communities, again, being on the west side of Denver, having similar access or speed to access the mountains and downtown, is the fact that both of them have phenomenal downtown areas. I've already mentioned Old Town Arvada and downtown Littleton, historic Main Street Littleton. So Old Town Arvada is certainly, in my opinion, the most walkable downtown area that's again really close to Denver. And it became even more walkable during the pandemic when they decided to turn two of their major roads as you pull into downtown Arvada into walking only pedestrian traffic roads. So as you pulled into Arvada, you used to be able to go straight, right or left. Now they've blocked off that traffic to where you just wrap around to the left, and instead you have these two blocks where it's filled with people and people enjoying themselves. The restaurants have put a lot of their seating outside on these summer days. And then as you go through Arvada, you also open into this open park right there in the heart of town. Now, Arvada is the community, that downtown Arvada area, that it has all the restaurants and the shops, and it has a lot of community events during the summer. They'll have a lot of things, Second Saturday is one that comes to mind that just brings the community together and is one of, again, from a walkability standpoint, one of the most incredible towns you're gonna see. Now, downtown Littleton is humbly speaking, I think, a prettier and more historic downtown, but not quite as walkable as Arvada. I mean, at least it's your more normal walkable downtown where all the streets have traffic. I mean, there's people driving everywhere, but it's longer. It definitely, to me, has a more scenic vibe to it because of all the businesses along each side, and then the Rocky Mountains at the end of Main Street. I mean, it's a beautiful town. I mean, when you talk about flipping a coin, I would not be brokenhearted at living in either of these towns with that, subtle nuance, if you want, of an area that is blocked off to traffic and a real more historic downtown long strip that kind of feels like a mountain town-ish vibe to it. So cost of living between these two communities is extremely comparable. On paper, they look almost identical, and this to some extent can be a trap. So both cities hover around 5 to 10% above the average US cost. And it's a fact that, at least as of the making of this video, the median home price in both these communities sits right around that $600,000 mark. But the analysis will tell you that this fact is kind of a lie. It's not because the number is wrong, it's because it's the average. It tells you that the city versus city comparison is the wrong comparison, because it really comes down to what you get for that $600,000, what areas you're gonna look at for that price point. But overall, when we're just talking about going out in town and enjoying yourself, but outside of those housing costs, which obviously are very important, these two towns are gonna be extremely comparable. So when we're talking about housing, and again, that $600,000 median, I wanna be clear on the areas that people are going to focus on and the difference between what $600,000 to $800,000 to $1 million will buy you in these communities. So for Arvada, as we talked about, you have Old Town, which is again the heart of Arvada. You're talking about small 1920s to 1950s bungalows, historic homes, and then some new modern fill-ins, some duplexes here and there. And it's going to be, as you might expect, pricey per square foot because you're paying for that walkability. A lot of people dream and want to live in a community like this where they can leave the front door and they can walk down into Old Town Arvada. And there's plenty of apartments and townhomes and condos nearby as well. But again, whether you're renting or buying, you're gonna pay a premium for living in this area. And this is areas like Lake Arbor, which are spectacular. And this is your 1970s to 1980s brick ranches, split levels, 2 stories with mature trees. This is where, realistically for Arvada, that $600,000 median price point lives. And this is really where people find that balance, where they're close enough to get to Old Town if they want to enjoy it, They live in a peaceful neighborhood. They have some mountain views. They can get downtown if they want, but they find that Goldilocks for affordability. And then, as I mentioned, you kind of get into that far Arvada, which a lot of people are looking for, where you get to the New West, if you will. And these are areas like Candelas, Westwoods. Yeah, I mean, these are 1990s to new builds, to brand new communities. A lot of them are master plan communities with clubhouses and pools and golf courses, and they're all pushed up against the foothills. Literally, as I am making this video, I've got some new friends from this very channel moving here from North Carolina who found Candelas to be the perfect spot for them and are under contract to purchase a house out there. A very popular area, and obviously some amenities that we'll get into that make this a very desirable area, likely at a higher price point, again, than a Lake Arbor or so on. Now, Littleton is going to have, again, some similarities, especially when we talk about downtown Littleton. That's where you're going to run into a lot of Victorians. You're going to run into some 1940s brick feel homes. And again, a lot of them are going to be small, they're going to be charming, and they're going to be expensive because people want, like me, to live close to that downtown Littleton area. Then you have these areas, you know, we talk about kind of moving west, and you get to these suburban core like Columbine Knolls. And this is, again, here's your similarity, the classic 1970s to 1980s suburbs. It's not master planned. You don't tend to run into a lot of HOAs or covenants. You got a lot of tri-levels. You have some 2 stories. It's quiet, it's established, and it feeds into a lot of top tier Littleton schools. That's one of the reasons that people will look in these areas. And that really starts to go as you get further west into areas like Ken Carroll, which again, many of those communities will have a Littleton address. Your price point in Ken Carroll can get pretty pricey because you get more of a mountain style living to it, but certainly fantastic as you start to move west. And I should mention that Ken Carroll is one of the examples I would give of the unincorporated gotcha of Littleton. So Ken Carroll is this massive 80s, 90s master plan community. It has a Littleton address, but it is unincorporated Jefferson County. Similar areas in South Littleton like Roxborough, which feels like a mountain town. You got newer homes, they're built right into Red Rocks. Again, a Littleton address, but this is unincorporated Douglas County. Roxborough is one of the prettiest communities I've ever seen. A bit of a drive because it's just you know, south of Chatfield Park and just a little outstretch, but just a gorgeous area. And then you have Sterling Ranch, which is due south. It's like the southern edge of Littleton, and this is the ultimate example because this is a massive brand new community. It uses a Littleton address, but it's way south in Douglas County, and it has literally its own entire ecosystem. So again, when you're looking at Littleton, just know there's a really big difference between some of these areas that you're going to be looking at. Now, rolling into some other factors about these communities and some of the differences is that when we're talking about local job centers, this is one of the areas where Arvada and Littleton are going to be pretty substantially different because not everybody is remote, not everybody's moving into Denver, not everybody's going up to Boulder and what have you. So Arvada is more of a community hub. It's more of a commuter suburb, if you will. Not a lot of big economic bases happening in Arvada. Certainly some small businesses, certainly some services and retail, but most professionals are using the light rail, they're using the G line, or they're using I-70, they're getting into Denver, over to Golden, maybe to Boulder. Now, Littleton, on the other hand, is a major employment hub. So, for example, Littleton is home to Lockheed Martin Space Systems. That employs over 10,000 people, and this is really the heart of Colorado's aerospace industry. It's also considered a reverse commute or a short drive from the entire Denver Tech Center, which is the single largest employment center in the metro area. So odds are, if you're working in aerospace, engineering, or tech, Littleton might not just be your home, it might also be your workspace, which is again one of those reasons people might consider Littleton over Arvada. But you also want to know, like, what is it like living in these communities? So, like, what do you do on a Saturday? So if you're in Arvada, I mean, the vibe there is energetic, it's bigger, it's city, it's suburb. So obviously, as I mentioned, you've got the hub, you've got Old Town Arvada. You're hitting breweries, restaurants, patios. Then you have some of your amenities. You've got the Apex Center. This is a massive public rec center. It's got ice rinks, It's got a huge indoor water park. It's got climbing walls. It's got a gym. You've got the Arvada Center for Arts and Humanities. This is a huge cultural hub with plays, galleries, concerts. And then you've got Stanley Lake. This again, getting into that western area of Arvada. And this is a big local water source. It's boating, it's paddle boarding, it's camping, plenty of outdoor activities to enjoy there in Arvada. And then you get into Littleton. And like I said, first place, the hub, downtown Littleton, filled with boutiques, indie coffee shops, antique shops, just a lot of cool history there. Very nearby, you've got Hudson Gardens, which is a beautiful 30-acre botanical garden and concert venue, and it's right on the Platte River. Gorgeous place to go check out. You've got state parks, and that's a big piece of Littleton. So these state parks, you're minutes from Chatfield State Park. That's for boating and beach. Colorado, especially the Denver metro area, not huge for having a lot of water. Chatfield is one of our larger reservoirs. Some of you are still going to call it a pond, but if you're big into boating and fishing and things of that nature, Chatfield's going to be on your radar. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you've got Roxborough State Park, which is stunning red rocks. I mean, it looks like something out of Jurassic Park. It's just beautiful, a great golf course there. And then you've got the Foothills Park and Rec District, which is this massive special district that manages an incredible network of parks, pools, rec centers, so a lot of amenities there. Now, we talked a bit about the location, but I want to drill down a little bit on your commute. So some of the commonalities, again, about these two, especially when it comes to their downtown, is that their downtowns, have access to the light rail system of Denver, which is very useful, again, if you have that quick access. If you don't, it's useless, but if you do. So downtown Arvada is home to the G line. That is a non-stop shot from Old Town Arvada to Union Station. Takes about 27 minutes to get there. Again, your main artery driving is I-70. And sure, that can be a parking lot sometimes for skiing, things like that. But again, you have it right there. And then as far as getting to the airport, take the G line down to Union Station. The Union Station then has a transfer to the A line to get out to the airport. Very, very helpful and very affordable. At the same time, downtown Littleton, they have a D-line train connection there that runs from downtown Littleton to Union Station. Now that is a bit longer of a train ride, takes roughly 40 minutes or so on the train. Your drive, so depending on what part of Littleton you're in, you could be on C470, E470, the Beltway. That wraps you further around the west side of town into areas like Ken Carroll, as I mentioned, quick access over to the mountains, or E470, which shoots you out east into areas like Aurora, eventually helping you get over to Parker. And this is really helpful, especially for getting to the tech center. Littleton has really good access, again, to the tech center, over to the mountains, up into downtown. And I'm sure you can guess that you could take that D line to Union Station, grab the A line to get to the airport. Again, a bit longer of a commute by what, roughly 10-15 minutes from Arvada, but still super convenient if, again, you live near the downtown areas of either. Now, I'm not gonna say that this is the most important part of the video by any means, but I do wanna make sure we talk briefly about this incorporated and unincorporated area. So the problem is that, again, your mailing address does not equal your city. So this is especially bad, or just something to pay attention to, in Littleton, where massive unincorporated areas in Jefferson County and Douglas County, such as Highlands Ranch, Ken Carroll, Sterling Ranch, all use Littleton, Colorado addresses. So what does this actually mean for you, just to be aware of? So first, schools. So you might see a house listed in Littleton and you're thinking, hey, great schools, they have these great overall rankings, but the address is actually unincorporated Jefferson County. So you're routing to Jeffco schools, not highly rated Littleton public schools. Again, not to say one is necessarily better than the other. I just want to make sure you're not assuming anything about the community you live in. And this can be a big non-negotiable for a lot of families. Then you have services. Now this isn't as extreme, but in the city, you get city services like city police, city snow removal. In the unincorporated county, you get county services. These are, to some extent, not the same. So perhaps your response times, your road quality, who plows your street and when, these can be wildly different. And then I figure, your money is important to you, so the tax trap. And this really applies to metro districts. So as a mortgage guy, this is one that tends to get buyers in trouble. So you see this beautiful $600,000 house in a community like Candelas in Arvada. or you see it in Sterling Ranch in Littleton, and you calculate the payment, and you've heard what property taxes are around the Denver metro, and you're like, all right, we're good. Then you find out that your calculation is wrong because a lot of these areas, because they're brand new, because they're paying for new roads and new schools and new firehouses and new police stations, they have a metro district. And this is essentially a second tax on top of your normal property taxes. And this is used to pay the developer back for building these roads and building these sewers and building these community pools. It's basically a loan that was given out to the community for the build, and now you are paying it back. And in my opinion, this is a lot of times where I see not necessarily deals get killed, but this is where people will put a value on how important it is to live in these areas, because you will, in many of them, pay a premium on that property tax for some of the amenities, for some of the location, for all of those things. So especially if you're talking about these newer communities, again, the Sterling Ranches and Candelas are two that come to mind right off the bat. Be prepared for a higher property tax bill. So a quick 3-step idea on how to help you just make sure you're looking at this property. So don't guess, use this text. So take the address, get the exact address of places you are looking at. Go to the county assessor's website, whether it's Jefferson County, Adams, Arapahoe, or Douglas County, and ask, is this property incorporated or unincorporated? If you're not sure, hit me up. I'll help you figure that out. Do the school test, same thing. You can find school boundaries, you can take a look, get a feel for is your area, again, whether you're renting or buying, is it gonna be in a certain school area that you want, and how important is that to you? And then the lifestyle check. Certainly as you're looking at these communities, how important are these downtown Arvada, downtown Littleton features to you? How quickly do you want access to the mountains? How quickly do you want to get downtown or to the Denver Tech Center? Or maybe you're in Arvada and you want to get up to a Boulder or a Broomfield. So when we're really comparing Arvada and Littleton, again, there are so many similarities. So it is, in many cases, the small little pieces of clarity. Is your priority a faster rail commute? Is it quick I-70 mountain access? Is it brewery-filled downtowns? Then Arvada is probably your answer in that case. If you want Main Street charm, you want a life built around parks and trails like Chatfield and the Highline Canal, which is 71 miles of trails. Maybe you even have a job lined up at Lockheed and you want close proximity there, then Littleton is probably going to take the edge. But I will say this, neither is the right choice for you if you don't have clarity on the boundary lines, incorporated and unincorporated, but if you're not aware of truly what you want. How important are the bounds? How important is quick access to Denver? What areas do you need to get to? What is important to you? Again, some people are gonna value the downtown area. Some people are never gonna go to it and they would rather be really in a quality suburban community where they feel safe and secure. And this is what I love about making these videos at the end of the day, is having those conversations. So if you're comparing, in this instance, Littleton and Arvada, or heck, maybe you're even throwing in a couple other suburbs of interest, let's have a chat about it. I dig that stuff. That's a perfect opportunity to hit me up with a phone call, a text, an email. Know that I am always the person answering those for you anytime, whenever you need me. In the meantime, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I am your host, Jim Everett. That was People Are Choosing Between Littleton and Arvada, Colorado. This is why. Till I see you next time, peace.